welcome everybody to the training session that we have. My name is D'Angelo Sands, and I'll be your guide for the next 25 minutes. As we know, we are in a diverse environment here. If you take a look around the room, you can tell that we are, just by looking at us, we have different genders, different race, different age groups. And so diversity is something that is great, right? That is good because there's so many ideas that play into the foundation, so many ideas that come to the table from different perspectives, different angles. And so we're able to really reach our common goals effectively due to such diversity that exists. Now, the flip side of that with diversity is there's greater potential for conflict, right? You may have a millennial who has a preferred communicative style or communication versus someone who might be from a boomer generation. Or you may have someone who have preconceived notion or draw some conclusion based off of where someone may be from, or based on someone's sex or gender or race. And so, in spite of all of that, today what we're going to do is we're going to put some information together, put some things to practice, and find some ways where we can develop ourselves professionally, develop our communication, and the way we connect with one another. All right, here's the objective for today's session. One, to establish guidelines for communication. As I mentioned, when it comes to communication, that's something that we do often. And so we're going to cover some things there. Two, we're going to explore feedback mechanism and dispel some myths. We know that feedback can be sometimes nerve-wracking. It can be somewhat sometimes, whether it's your supervisor or whether you're the employee. There's just some myths that I think that's there, but we'll explore that. Establish guidelines for professional acts and attire. Each one of us have our own style. Does it reflect the way our office operates, or do our acts affect the way we operate amongst our peers? So, but before we get going though, so we're gonna break some ice, baby, okay? Break some ice. Now, how many of you know who this guy is? Yeah, so this is Vanilla Ice, okay? So the way what I have set up for you is this. I have 3 questions to ask you, and I'm going to call this the 5-second challenge, okay? So I want you to think about the question when you see it on the board. I'm going to allow you to see the question, and then I'll count to 5, and you get 5 seconds to write the response down on the packet that you have, and then we'll share your response to it. You can write on the back side of the packet or anywhere in the space provided, okay? So, first question. What is the scariest thing you have ever done? What is the scariest thing you've ever done? Counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Write your answer. And to further explain, the 5-second challenge kind of keeps you from overthinking it. Just the first thing comes to mind. What are some of your responses? Give me something that was scary for you that you've done. Ride a roller coaster. Wow. Yeah. So my son, who is 12, is at that stage where he wants to ride. What's the roller coaster? Six Flags King. The King. Is a huge wooden one. Yes. So he wants to ride this thing, and it's wooden, I think, and it's at the steep. And I'm like, son, I value life too much now. I have 2 kids. You're one of them. So I want to make sure that I survive this. So roller coaster is one. And when I was younger, I could take that drop. I can't take the drop anymore. So this is somebody else.
Getting tased.
Getting tased. Ooh, share a little bit more about that.
There's just a lot of anticipation. I didn't know what it was going to feel like, and I had to watch everybody get tased before me. And then I just had to stand there and hold on to people and wait for it to hit me.
Oh, yes. So I know about that challenge. They call it riding the lightning, right?
Yeah.
So fun fact, one connection we had is I also got tased, and I was number 4. That's right. And yes, the day that you get tased in the police academy, it's like death. Like no one is talking, and all the other officers like, hey, what's wrong with you? And it's like, wait a minute, we're about to like die. Y'all. You know? It's nerve-wracking. So thank you for sharing. Give me one more.
Left home.
Left home?
Left home to college.
Wow. Elaborate a little bit. Share more with the group.
I left my environment. In other words, I had to live outside the box that I grew up in.
Wow.
And so that was a big step.
Wow. We got another hand too.
The scariest thing I've ever done is I went to China to take care of an orphanage with a 9-week-old baby and my husband. But that 9-week-old baby, taking them overseas was like, yeah.
Doing anything with it.
It was pretty scary, yeah.
Wow.
So was this was one of your children? Or was another?
No, we were helping someone who's going on furlough, so we
Okay.
went to take care of their orphanage while we were there, but we didn't really know much about it.
Oh, that is one. I bet. Well, thanks so much for sharing. I have 2 more questions to go, and it's gonna be the same concept where you get a chance to see the question. I'll count to 5. Again, the first thing comes to mind. Okay. Would you do it again, and why? Would you do it again, and why? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I ready to beat down? All right, someone tell me, would you do this again, and why?
Absolutely not.
No? Okay. Do get elaborate. First, tell us what was the scary thing.
Well, kind of like him, his was a roller coaster. Mine was the Superman at Six Flags where you go up and then they just drop you.
Yeah.
No, never again. The only reason why I got on that thing was because of peer pressure.
Oh.
And after experiencing that, I was like, yeah, never again. Too
Yeah.
scary. I hated it. I don't want to put myself through it again.
So the answer is no, and that is why. That is why it doesn't. Is there someone else? Yes, sir.
So I guess like 5 years ago, I went ziplining with my family in Missouri, and we were like volunteering at a camp, and we were driving back home, and it was just like a spur of the moment decision. We saw it on the side of the road, and it's like, okay, we're gonna do it. And I was like, what is happening? But I would 100% do it again. I was up there the first time, like, because we had little like, I guess posts where you would jump from one post to the next one, and then keep going down to the course. And the first jump was just like, and then I was just like, I gotta do it. And but it was truly exhilarating and free, and it made you feel just like really strong. Just kind of let yourself experience it and face your fears.
Nice. Someone else.
I said yes. I moved to Costa Rica after I graduated college to be a missionary. Just decided to leave grad school behind, and I got offered to come here, and I said no, and I moved to Costa Rica. It was terrifying, but I would go again. It for sure changed me as a person and grew my perspective just in so many ways. But I also really fell in love with like the Latin community and got to understand it in such a different way. And yeah, I grew up a lot. So living abroad by myself. So.
Wow, that's something I can relate to that when I came to this country, but not the whole study. So thank you for sharing for that. Harris, I have one more question to ask. I'll give you 5 seconds again to respond to that question. And here's the question. What did you learn through that experience? And I know some of you may have shared a little bit about that, but if you care to elaborate. So what did you learn? What did you learn? Counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What did you learn through that experience? When you rode the lightning, what did you learn when you got tased?
I learned, well, I I figured out that I was a lot braver and stronger than I thought I was.
Right.
To kind of just go through that and survive it.
Mhm.
And although it was scary, I made it through.
Yeah. And we also learn just the effects of it too, right? So that when we use the kids or other citizens, what it's like and how much power it has and how it cripples them. So it gives you an idea, both sides of that taser. Someone else.
With my roller coaster one, I learned that I do not like to move that fast without my own doing. I'd much rather be firm on the ground. That's my forte.
Well, good. Right. I concur with that. I prefer to be in an enclosed encampment, enclosed with airbags if I can. Right? Someone else. What did you do?
Yes. I wrote life is all about adaptation and change. But as long as you got God at the head, all things are possible.
Yes. You must be an elder somewhere. I don't know. Thank you so much, Mr. Scott, for sharing that. And that is true. Many of us are involved in certain journeys, and sometimes at different level. In some cases, it involves a ride like a Superman that I would probably never go on, but peer pressure assisted in you getting on there. Maybe going to another country, another culture, and maybe it's moving from one place from your comfort zone to the next, or zip line. And so our experiences may differ, but there's somehow some connection that takes place when we share these different experiences, whether it's enlightening another individual about our experiences, learning from it, or experience something similar, right? Where there's some kind of relation between you and another individual. And so what I want to do with all of this is kind of bring it to the professional realm, our area of expertise, our profession, and kind of show how we're connected and how we can share our different experiences with one another and hope to help us to advance or grow as professionals. So in order to do so in this session you may feel some excitement or discomfort. So before we get started into some of the information you want to truly cover, let us look at growth mindset and assess it. So when it comes to growth mindset, here are some characteristics of growth mindset, right? Someone with a growth mindset versus someone with a fixed mindset. Growth mindset, we embrace challenges, right? If there's a challenge that's occurring, whether it's a project that we're working on or a task given, we run towards it, right? Fixed mindset, no way. We avoid those challenges. We don't take advantage of any training or any room for growth. I'm good, all right? Growth mindset, we learn from feedback and criticism. Fixed mindset avoids it, okay? We look at intelligence and we look at our skills, and we say, on growth mindset, we say, I can develop those. If I were to just try a little bit and get some help, I could achieve increasing my intelligence or developing some kind of skill. Fixed mindset, not so much. All right, it's just straight talent. You believe, if you're a fixed mindset, I believe that, hey, I was born with this. I saw it in my father, saw it in my mother. If you don't have it, then you don't have it. Okay. Growth mindset, willing to put more effort. Fixed mindset, no effort. Okay. Growth mindset, let's keep trying. All right, let's keep trying until I can succeed. Let's keep trying until I'm successful. I'm never going to give up. Fixed mindset, look, I had enough. All right, I'm done. All right, you can take your progress and go somewhere else with that, right? Growth mindset, and no matter how challenging something is, we work through those challenges. We face those challenges, right? Fixed mindset, I'm a failure. All right, that's just it. It is not worth going forward. Growth mindset, we're inspired by other success. So when I see you do good, I generally can give you a high five, like, you better go on, Abby. Go on and get that. Or Mr. Scott, I see you, you know. Fixed mindset, if Gail is doing good in her department, she got her grant funded, her extra one, and I'm jealous.
Just coasting along.
And I'm jealous. I'm jealous that she was successful in a certain area and whatnot. And so when we look at these two different ordeals, growth mindset in essence is really the willingness to seek help and develop strategies to grow and develop. That's really what it is. All right, fixed mindset. You look at traits like intelligence and skill set and say, okay, look, that's the trait that I have. And to give you more of a view of it, when you have a fixed mindset, that's someone who just highlights their brilliance all the time, right? Instead of growing and developing in a certain area, you say, okay, hey, look at my accolades. Look, I achieved this, I achieved this, I achieved this, and that's it. I want you to always see, when you come into my office, I have a big poster of my successes. All of my medals, when I win debate, all these different things. And so I'm highlighting these achievements because I believe that, look, I was born this way, no question about that. And so when we're looking at growing in the professional environment, we have to consider what are some areas that, like what are some things that what is the way that we learn is the question. What is our preferred choice of learning? And if I can get my question up here for you, I'll put it up there. And I'll go ahead and ask it. Based on the qualities or the characteristic of a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, what way you feel that you lean more to learning? Which mindset you are drawn to? Think about that for a moment. Have you said to yourself privately that I'm a failure? Are you secretly threatened by the success? Think about that, right? And some of us may have already transitioned to the growth mindset side, you know, and it might not be every single area, but it may be certain areas that we can use a little push. So think about that for a few minutes. Which belief system do you learn toward, and how is that serving you?
I think it depends on what it is. I mean, sometimes I'm like, yep, no, I'm not dealing with that, and walking away. I mean, you know, you're just not. You're just like, I'm done, I'm walking away from that.
Mm-hmm.
Or there's some other things you're like, no, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna get in here, I'm gonna make it happen. Depends on what it is. It needs to be something that you are passionate about.
It's the motivation.
Yeah, the motivation behind.
Age has a lot to do with that.
Yes, it does. I mean, because
It's
you get to the point of why do I keep learning, and you've enjoyed learning all your life, but then you're like, I'm really tired, and I'm old.
Well, this is good point, right? Good point. And well, a little confession. When I reach 60, I am going to say what I want. I'm 60 years old.
And I already do it, so I don't know why I'm waiting till 60.
I'm just saying, right? You know.
It's like Larry Henderson was like skydiving.
So those are some factors to consider. You know, when you're younger and you know you're fighting at the bit, you're just getting started.
For the vinegar.
You know, you know, we tend to embrace those challenges. We tend to embrace those changes, right? But what I find in spite of the spectrum, there's still certain areas though that individuals are willing to grow in spite of the ages. There's still some areas. You know, and that's the common ground. Okay, here's the activity for you. Turn to the person next to you and discuss as many traits you possess in connection to growth mindset.
Well, we can relate to all.
I think,
Get to a certain part, like I said, age.
sometimes it's really
Not that I'm rock it out bottom, but
I feel like sometimes I think
not
I'm
enough.
an accountant.
I'm at the bottom. Yeah, it's time to go fishing. Go back and go to the gym.
Yeah, I know a lot of it over.
I think a lot of it has to do with
I started to use certain questions like
in high school, like I was very
Yeah, I think we're like that same like other age.
I'm gonna do it again.
I'm
I'm such a
But yeah, I was like going through and all that.
even though I'm like, and right there, I'm like, no. I didn't love it. That's okay.
If I don't, this last time, he had a sex, I don't know, you know, this is how he that takes it over all this other stuff. My persistence on there is more important. So now it's just
I feel like I always resist things that I'm
That's always my
there are times where I don't
Instead of being like, okay, what are the nuggets in here? I'm usually like, I don't know.
I don't know what's
Yeah, right.
The next question.
Like, take this and go look at it, but make my.
Next point of discussion. All right, now discuss obstacles within the fixed mindset that you may possess or you may have. What's some obstacles that you see in some of the traits of fixed mindset that you know you may need to work on or take out of your vocabulary or grow?
I know I'm not doing that.
So is that an obstacle or?
My body.
That's the word, you know yourself, like,
Yeah.
but maybe you know that's not your riches, but those are
I always felt like I always had to do much better.
that you were doing
In the back of my mind.
Because I do, and I've heard more about how I was and like that.
I think like, when it's in the code, like, I like to think about like, I always think there's a
Always good.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's
certain areas
good.
that I never really like, there's
Okay, you're right. I need to fix that.
That's something I never have. If I didn't get it, I'll figure out why I didn't get it.
So that one, I like I had it.
For me, it's failure.
And once I get into it, it's secondary.
So that's one thing I think I'm going to forever. Like all my other programs, this is really what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah.
Man, such a
Yeah,
like,
that's
no.
if you decide to do something, work on it.
And then it's like,
Right. And like it's proactive. Yeah, I'm not trying to force things to be like that's what's helpful about one. But I can also realize they're kind of editable, you know, some water in there that's when you paint
my brain went straight to like this guy.
Next one.
Maybe like
Another point of discussion. Share a professional goal that you have that you feel that you can utilize the growth mindset in order to accomplish that goal. So share one professional goal you may have this year, just this year, on this.
I wanna learn the Adobe Suite so bad. It's hard.
So how can we utilize the growth mindset approach?
Get in there and do it.
There you go. There you
Get in
go.
there and get
Come
it
up with on
done.
that.
When I had something set up some software.
I'll give you a couple minutes on this one,
I
and
didn't
then
know how to
we'll.
do that.
Because there's always new software.
Well, my thing is by the time I get used to a certain thing, to change, or else my boss, goes in every week. And you manage to.
I'm in the spot. I have to do somebody else back.
You go ahead and
Now it's just like,
try
I go
to
against
get it worked out.
So, what are some things that came up? Well, what are some things that came up in your discussion?
For professional or for?
For all of it that we discussed so far, what are some things that came up in those discussions? Like when it comes to your traits and growth mindset, when it comes to some obstacles, turn on the fixed mindset, and then some professional goals, how you can use your growth mindset in that. Success. What were some things that came up?
We kind of talked about how the type of mindset you're in is also highly dependent on your environment, and so external factors, and so relationships, you know, what those look like. Like if you had a mentor, then you're probably kind of in that mode of a growth mindset. But if you didn't have a relationship like that, then you're more likely to be your worst critic and just like really hard on yourself.
That's right.
Or like for the fixed mindset, like a big one for me was that I was threatened by other success, specifically because I was a younger sibling, and so I was constantly comparing myself to my sister, making sure that I either did just as good or better, you know. And so, or like I went to, you know, a very academically competitive high school, and so that was already just kind of a push to continue, you know, always growing, trying to do better, that kind of thing. So it's a lot about your external environment and how that affects you.
Thank you for sharing that. Those are good points. Give me one more person.
One that I thought was super interesting is that ignores criticism. I like to think I don't do that, but when it comes to somebody I don't respect, I have to really think about that. I'm like, ooh, I might do that. When in reality, like, it could just be a different, like, lens or a different perspective that, like, it may not all apply, but there are areas that, like, I might be able to take from it and understand how it might be communicating what I'm doing. It might be communicating to, like, different types of people, even if I don't necessarily, you know, respect whoever's maybe criticism. At least that's not to you. I hope, you know. But I think it's so easy to like take criticism from people that you love and trust, but in the workplace, you're not always working for people who you might feel this intimate connection with, right?
Right.
And so like it's really easy to be like, oh well, they don't get me, you know, or like they don't really understand what I do. So like, thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned communication, and you know, and you have a point there. It can be challenging when you have individuals who you kind of know they may not really express that they truly care about the development or you in particular, and so it's very challenging to take what they're saying as truth, right? Do I really want to get feedback from this person? Do they really care about my development? And that is hard. That is hard. And so what brings me to the next point that we're going to cover is communication. Let me ask you this. So what is the preferred style of communication for you? Like what kind of communication do you prefer? Do you prefer text? Huh? Face-to-face? Face-to-face. Text messages, email, or maybe you like to do, what they say, slide in someone's DM? I don't know, the first time I heard that, I was like, what? Slide in DM? I don't know what that is. What's the DM? I had to learn direct message.
I'm just saying, what is a D?
I'm lost. So if anybody gets my DM, I don't even know. I don't know. So I came across this Gallup poll, right? And it is broken down based on age bracket, on the preferred style of communication. And if you look at it in the packet, it will show that individuals between 18 and 29 send or read text messages, and the percentage is 68%. That's their preferred message, 68%. 30 to 49, 47%. 50 to 64, 26%. 65 plus, 8. So that's what they have. And I'll say this. This actual study was based off of communication within the week. So not on the weekend. You know, weekend may be a little bit different, but during the week, sometimes there's a preferred communication style. And so this just captured what it is on during, I think it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, they kind of did this study or assessment. May gonna receive a phone call using a cell phone, 18 to 29, 50%. 30 to 49, 41%, 50 to 64, 40%, and 18% for 65 and over. So their method of communication, that's the percentile there. Send or read emails. I don't know how many of you read emails that you receive in your inbox. Maybe you might forward them somewhere to file 13 and go to the trash can, I don't know. Post or read message on Facebook, Instagram, or something other social media site. You're 30%, 18 to 29, 20%, 30 to 49, 17%, 50 to 64, and 6% 65 and over.
Big drop off.
So yeah,
So I'm not even up there.
You are, you're 65 plus.
I'm 65. No, I ain't 65.
You're
I'm
at
64. I'm 64.
Okay.
But I'm the direct conversation.
Yeah.
I rather have that than all that mess.
Which is why I think
Oh,
65
it's still
plus,
alive.
all the numbers are low.
Yeah.
Because face to face isn't up there.
Right. And so in today's time, what they found was because of the way we're communicating with each other more often, there's still preferences that is embedded in how we communicate depending on who it is. So in a work culture, in our environment, like for me personally, I like the face-to-face, right? Because email can leave so much room for what?
Interpretation.
Yes. I received an email one time ago with all caps. Right? And someone else on there was like, stop yelling. I'm like, but I learned that when you have all caps, you're yelling at somebody. You know what I mean? And so ever since I was exposed to like the terminologies and how email can come off or even text, I'm always overly cautious on what I say in an email. So when you call someone, so a method that I find to be somewhat beneficial is being able to call someone so they can hear my tone, hear my voice, and then follow with an email. And believe it or not, with someone like me, confession, it takes me a longer period of time to send an email or text because I'm reading it 1200 times. Okay, what do I say? Good morning, Miss Brown, Mrs. Brown. I want to say good morning, ladies. What is the preference? You know, do I, you know, is she gonna appreciate a text or prefer an email? Like, what is it that, what line of communication is preferred in our workplace? So let's take a moment and ask each other this. So what works best for you? Because I heard comments like, just text me, you know, or just email me, or just call me. You know, people have indicated these things. Just a minute.
You can just call me, you know, if that's the case. But when I got your text and I had to reply, it took me a while. I was sitting there going like, so do I say, you know, how do I say, live, you know?
Yeah.
Doctor, a miss, or whatever, I'm going, okay, just a reply.
Yeah.
What is it?
I said Dr. Brown.
Dr. Brown. Okay, now it'll be Dr. Brown.
I think it depends on the formality of the message, right? Like, if something's urgent, and I'm not gonna check my email in an hour, I'd much prefer someone to email me instead of me get it and be like, oh, I'm already late for that. But if it's something formal where it's like, I'm informing you about all of this stuff, like getting a text, through that is really difficult for me to like synthesize, like, is this for work, or is this you like telling me to get on this now? You know, like the urgency and the formality, I think, kind of depends, which is why a phone call is also nice, but like I don't like to like give out my phone, like my cell phone number for someone to call, like students and whatnot, obviously.
Right.
But so an email's nice from them, but I don't know.
I like to talk in person, but I like to send stuff like for today, come over here in a text, and I like to get a response. That way, if somebody does show up, I'll be like, no, you told me you were gonna be here, you know, you texted me back, and I have proof. Look, you said you would be here, you know, not that they've never shown up, but sometimes when you tell them, they're like, wait, what did she say? But if it's in a text, they can go back and say, oh, it's 11 o'clock and here's the room. You know, and they don't have to keep calling me or keep asking me over and over. Because sometimes you forget when it's face to face. But if it's written down somewhere, you have it to refer to.
Has anyone ever had an experience where you interacted with someone in the office setting, in a work setting, and there was a preferred style of communication that someone had preferred, and then you had to adapt? Has anyone experienced anything like that you can share?
Randy's looking at me because he has to adapt, and but I mean, I make them Slack. I make them text and email, and if they ask a question, hey, is this student da-da-da, I require it to come through Slack, because I want to have a record of it, and if I need to look back, I need a record, and Slack keeps them forever.
Yeah.
And they can put pictures, they can put receipts, whatever, through this format, and I like that. And I don't like group text because he's on Android and we're on iPhone, and sometimes they get lost in cyberspace. I have no idea what that's
It's
about.
not, I have it.
It's not.
So how did the adaptation take place? Like, what was the feedback that you got when you said, okay, let's instill Slack for communication when you're in school and when you say good morning or whatever? So how did the staff adapt to that? And what was the feedback?
He gets upset at first, but then he does it quite well. He's like, one more thing to do, to learn, to figure out, you know. But then he
Growth
does
mindset.
it.
There you go.
Then he does it, and then he's fine. But and there
It
is
goes all over my body.
there's a learning curve to the technology, and that's when it gets frustrating. And sometimes technology doesn't always work like you
Right.
think it should work.
Right.
And so
Especially when caught.
there are hurdles. There are hurdles to get over, but once you get over them, you're fine.
Right.
That persistence of the growth mindset, you got to push through.
Yes, let's do it.
And plus, I do respect her, so.
And so he'll do it for me.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good. All right. So you have this at your disposal where it just kind of highlights on the different preferences that individuals have based on whether you're a millennial or you're an boomer. And so this is some good information that you can refer back to. I mentioned feedback a minute ago, and I know we're coming down time, and I want to get it out right at 45. So one thing that I find in my studies and my research is that feedback tend to be somewhat of an uncomfortable space for a lot of people, even for whether you're a director or not. Some individuals sometimes put or take feedback either so negatively that they assume that it's a threat. They assume that it's something that just I'm in trouble or it's so bad. And then you have some in leadership who feel like, well, I don't want to hurt this person's feeling, and I don't want them to think that I think that they are no good or they're not a good worker. I just want them to know that I appreciate them. And so they tend to avoid certain things. But what I find is this: asking for feedback and receiving feedback takes courage. It also makes you a more effective leader. In this particular piece here, you can see that when it comes to feedback, employees actually want honest feedback. They want honest feedback. And now, delivery is something else we can discuss on how you deliver the feedback, right? But anyone that wants to do well at their job wants to know, hey, how am I honestly doing because I want to progress. What this shows is in the 110% of individuals who didn't get honest feedback from their supervisors tended to not like their job, didn't perform well, you know, and going beyond the graph here, I would say, you know, maybe that individual may have been lost in what their job really meant or supposed to be, because they didn't really know or have anything to go off of to say, hey, you need to bring it up to the next level. Top 10% loved their job and enjoyed it. Those who scored higher on the desire to get feedback, or who supervisor provided them the feedback, honest feedback. It doesn't break down the scale as far as the method. If it was something that was harsh, you know, like, hey, step it up, you know, it doesn't address that. Or on the lighter end, oh, hey, good job, move on. It's just indicating that when you provide honest feedback, you tend to have better employees in a better state. Another thing too that came up in the study is for better leaders ask for more feedback. Okay, you will find that in the top 10% here, the individuals who are most effective leaders in their office, organization, they ask for constant feedback. And this feedback can be a supervisor asking, subordinate sounds, it's kind of negative, so asking their staff, right? Hey, what are your thoughts on this? Give me feedback on this process, right? But it's also being a staff asking the supervisor, hey, this is what I've done, give me your feedback, or hey, I'm getting ready to launch or start another project, or the project you're giving me, do you mind setting aside time that as you go through this process, I get constant feedback on this progress, all right? So let me ask you this. How do you feel about feedback, giving and receiving?
I'm fine with it.
You're fine with it? Doesn't hurt your feelings?
Oh, no. I've been in both positions as a giver and taker, so.
All right.
I think if there's, you know, like an obvious desire to have a common goal and you're working for the benefit of whatever, and both parties are wanting to be doing that, then it can be constructive.
Okay.
I come from the background of sports, so all my life I've been told, the coach isn't yelling at you, he doesn't like you. So I remember earlier that constructive criticism is good for your growth. So,
Yeah.
That's good, because one day I did yell.
Let me be
Coach,
honest. I'm looking to be
coach.
honest.
Yeah, honest feedback, right? So it can growth take place without feedback, without getting some kind of idea of where you are, what you're doing? Can growth take place without it?
Walking around
Very minimal.
doing it.
Is that right? I guess all depends on the direction you're going in. Maybe you may go instead of up, you may go side, right? So I have an actual activity for you to do in regards to this. Here's what I have for you. I have an actual time for us to role play. All right. I want you to divide into groups of two, and then we'll have one for an extra. But divide in groups of two. Right. Each player will choose a scenario, and we will role play. All right. Each player will have two acting roles. One is the supervisor, giving criticism, and a team member accepting criticism. Okay. You can choose a role. You can be a director first, or administrative assistant, advisor, team member, or another advisor, team member. Okay? So you can choose any of those roles you have, but just know that you're going to play the role of a supervisor on the second round with your partner. Okay? Here's the scenarios. All right, administrative assistant misses deadline on 3 out of 7 tasks given. All right,
Uh-oh.
just 3 out of 7. Okay, and I'm gonna leave room for your interpretation of the role, of the scenario. Second, advisor did not meet all required caseload for the first time. Okay. Third, advisor appearance has become more casual than usual. Advisor also walked around the office with no shoes on.
Oh, that's for the feedback.
I did not feed him examples.
This has nothing to do with no one. Okay, just so you know, no one comes to mind specifically. But choose one of these scenarios. One would play the administrative assistant, advisor, or either of the advisors. Okay, and it's okay if you choose some of the same ones. That's okay. But choose one that there's some kind of relationship. Either you have seen it before or you have experienced it, just so you can try to embody the character that you're going to be playing. All right, and so go ahead and you can go ahead now and get started with your role. If you need to see the other roles again, here they are. They're also in your packet.
Supervisor, go ahead.
I'm the supervisor.
Do you want to keep it? I can't say it.
And the scenarios out there.
That's great.
Well, okay. So say I'm you.
In the school system, things have changed a lot compared to what they were last year, or last year, they had online. Objective.
I'm gonna act out.
So this time,
Or, yeah,
so
you
this
can
time,
Um,
we might need to adjust
So how do you
that
see that
case.
conversation?
Use that case vote.
Oh, uncomfortable
Or
or?
would it make you feel?
Any suggestions you have for me, that I can be good to,
Understanding.
listen.
Right, then I would say
The other
that's
two,
critical pieces of
Or if we all get to that point, we just want to like, relax and unwind a little bit.
Yeah.
However, like, that's forward. I don't want to do
You know, yeah. Approach it. It doesn't, probably wouldn't say, oh, I need instant breaks, but.
Oh, so you're saying I'm not doing my job? Yeah, flipped it on in there on me. I'm not doing my job, okay? Okay, all right. Oh, yeah, I've been in. Oh, yeah.
All right, when your turn.
Okay,
Because I know you.
Right.
I noticed
Like,
that
I know
out
what you're,
of
yeah,
the,
I know it doesn't speak to
Yeah,
the
7 tasks that you had to do this year, you completed all of the 3.
Someone would see that, I guess.
Which is not bad, but we needed all 7 of the
It's
takes.
usually like moving
Could you
furniture,
elaborate on
you know,
what
just like
happened?
take like someone took furniture and handles it.
Well,
Not hurt yourself.
Right, sometimes when they just don't
yeah,
have
the time just got away from the, was so engrossed.
That's probably, I don't know, I think
Several of these, and so I'll.
always trying to like start off with
Sets our
understanding deadlines, making sure that and being like,
These other suggestions you have.
you know, these are the things that I know.
Well, maybe that,
Like I don't take, you know, and maybe you do, or another like misses the deadlines of the 3 or 7.
we could
Right? That's kind of a more
with
stern,
college
like,
standards,
hey, like,
in order for us to get our.
yeah, what are we missing? Right.
There must be some.
Right. Yeah, or yeah, I'm trying to understand like it's the you know.
I'll have to make
But
sure.
yeah.
Might need to actually do something.
You don't know.
Well, if we take,
Like,
touch that,
starting off by making a
we'll look
Right.
at
Or
it.
if
But I think you can get it
even if they
done.
did, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
a little more like spank.
Within the time frame that we have.
Like 3 out of 7, that might be a little bit more significant. But always something to understand, like what happened or what's going on.
Well, yes,
Yeah.
they are important,
Yeah.
but in order to
Because I
get
think about
part of
like
this,
even.
we have to carry our load. Not saying you're not carrying your load, but the next part of it is,
you know, like I just
It's in
want to
black
know
and white.
what happened.
And I appreciate what
You
you
know,
got
so
done.
naturally,
But
this
we
way.
gotta step it up a
we all,
little more.
yeah, yeah. and it's just,
In other words,
you know,
I want blood out of that.
right, and I didn't know if you're gonna give me a raise.
Great job, great job.
Or something.
Well, when you get those
Like, if it has to
three
be
done,
slow,
we'll talk about it.
All right.
I'm not gonna give you a pay raise. You have. I'm sorry.
Let's do it, bring it together. We're writing down.
Your work is good, but it has to be done.
We're writing down your.
Yeah, that's hard. but-
So question, was the constructive criticism well received? And the role play, do you feel like the person who received the criticism that they received it well? Yeah?
So.
Did you feel that the critic was destructive at any moment? The criticism was destructive at all? Like did it break, you feel like it break you down a little bit? It was more negative than anything else, than an opportunity for you to get an understanding of where you were, give you a platform to stand on and move to the next level? At any point?
It never came to my mind after she got through talking to me, hey, I'm finding me another job. I just quit. You know, I never felt that way. But I know people that had, you know.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. How would you feel in a real life meeting with your supervisor about your performance?
I think that depends on if you believe you've done a good job or not. You know, if you believe you're doing the best job that you can possibly do, and your supervisor calls you in, and they don't see that, then it's hard on you. But if they call you and say, hey, you're doing a good job, then you're like, oh, thanks, I do that.
Or else they lead off with the good part, then hit you with the low bottom. You know.
But that, I mean, that's what all supervisors do. They don't just call you in, maybe not all. Maybe that's what I do. I call you in and I try to like tell you all the good things you're doing. But there's one thing, and I don't say it's a bad thing, I just say I'd like for you to change it because I prefer it done this way.
The compliment
Well,
sandwich.
this didn't have nothing to do with you, but, but there's a lot of times when you go into your supervisor's office, the first thing they start off with the bad stuff. You know.
Yeah. So the approach is what you're saying, the approach that a supervisor can take can make or break that experience.
Yeah.
Right. Like again, if and look, as human beings, we know when a supervisor means well, and I think we are blessed to have one that means well, and not just by word, but there's evidence of the way maybe a supervisor may communicate or the things, the gestures that are done. You know, when they're invested in you and you in their development, so it's easy to say, hey, can you tell me how I'm doing I've done this past month? So, so those are the good points made and some things to consider. All right, so we're gonna move through this. We're a little over time, and my
Can
point
I
for
say
that.
one more thing about that?
Go ahead.
That other thing? I think sometimes you have to nip it in the bud too. If there's something going on that doesn't need to be happening in the office, you'd be like, you gotta get on it right now.
Yeah.
And you don't have time for all these niceties. You're like,
Right.
no, we're not gonna do that.
Right.
And this is why. I always give mine a reason.
And I know that I've always appreciated a full explanation of the perspective that they're coming from because I've learned a lot, you know, and also as we all have to navigate, you know, the system. You know, it helps understand supervisor perspective because they have to navigate a sort of system I can't see.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's really helped me as I've worked at ACU to learn from that, and it helps me understand where this is coming from.
Those helpful.
I wanted to say one more thing too.
So
Sorry.
go ahead.
I think that, I know one thing that's been a frustration over my professional years has been not getting timely feedback, and like you think you're on the right track with something and you're almost done, and then somebody comes in and says, oh no, actually, I meant to tell you 3 weeks ago, you're doing all of this wrong. So I think, you know, and in my class, I try to get grades back, you know, so there's like feedback, but I think giving consistent feedback along the way is helpful. It's hard to stay on top of stuff like that.
Yeah. Thank you for that. The last piece we'll cover is just professional attire, presentation, and acts. And then we'll be done. Right?
Jeans and Santas.
It's
So-
Friday.
This is
You're
the.
the only one, and you and Hannah, I don't know.
I'm not concerned.
Friday.
Listen, I wonder where you
Jeans and sandals back
Yeah, I
there.
was joggers today, and I
Yeah.
was like, where are your socks? It was in class.
So one of the rules that I came across was dress up, dress one up or down, just one up or down. And what that simply means is, based on your office culture, right? If your office is one like mine, I wear a blazer, or if I wear a shirt, dressing one up would be like staff wearing a suit. Or one down is maybe a slacks with a shirt with no tie. Right? And so that's the rule of thumb. So if you're looking at your supervisor and he or she is consistently dressing a certain way nice, then you don't want to wear joggers, and stretch suits to the office. They may send you home or whatever the case may be. So quick question, what's the dress code or dress environment for your office and your place? Besides Friday.
Besides Friday.
When you're in the schools, no shorts.
You learned that one
Schools
smart.
are in
Says Coach Harrington.
yeah.
It sounds like you're gonna feedback, some honest feedback. All right.
It was positive.
That's what I said, dress like a teacher, not a coach. Those were my exact words.
And you know what? And that is funny, yes. But look how you adapted to what his background was. You knew he was an athlete, right? And you knew what he was accustomed to, and you knew if you used the two and compared them, he would get it. It didn't go over his head. You know what I mean? And so that was actually wise of you. And guess what? He was responsive. So he got an athlete. Probably before that or without that, but that's good. So someone else. What are some?
I think for me, it's also dependent on like what your job entails. Because like with me, I work with a lot of students, and so depending on if we have activities, then obviously I'm not going to be wearing heels. If I'm going to be, carrying boxes and doing stuff, that I'll be on my feet all day. But I also want to dress in a way that students feel like I'm someone who's approachable, rather than someone who's standoffish and intimidating. And so having this welcoming presence is also important. Creating that comfortable environment for them.
Right. So depending on your role and activity for that day, right? Upward Bound, we are running around in the summertime, right? And so some of you will see me dressed all the way down, and you might say, "Well, what happened? Why do you look like that?" I'll be running around with kids, right? So it is a lot of different. So it is depending. That's true. You want to address the part for a little bit.
It's also with our students, if Randy went in a suit and tie, most people that they've seen in suit and ties are people that are the authority that scare them, and so we have the polo shirts that say Town Church, and they're kind of dressed a little bit down in order to help the students feel comfortable in our presence. And we don't want to wear the three-piece suit, because that is usually someone coming to do something bad, take your kids away, whatever it is. It's not a pleasant thing for them to see people in suits and ties.
So I have to find stuff to be able to navigate through the day. So I'm meeting with students, I want to be approachable, but I also know that I may have to be comfortable also sitting in a meeting with, Liz and Phil Schubert, which that's never happened, but it's a dream.
Right.
So but I have to be.
That's the dream.
That's a dream. So you need more the funding, right?
Wait till you spend the night with Phil.
But just to be able to be flexible enough to integrate through both without feeling uncomfortable. I think the students know that I'm in graduate school, so I'm still a student, but I don't want Phil to look at me as a graduate student when we're meeting, or Liz to look at me as a student when we're meeting about program stuff,
Yeah.
So I want to be taken seriously, but I also just want to be taken seriously.
And I think it's more than just me taking it seriously, I'm giving legal advice.
Yeah.
So I kind of have to show that I'm a professional who really knows what this is, and so I think that's sometimes why I dress up a little bit more. And in fact, I've gotten some interesting feedback from students. They're like, wow, you look so professional today. I'm like, oops. That means I haven't before, but I realized that, my role is in that sort of, having expert advice kind of thing, and so you do have to dress for that.
Yeah. So just being expedient with your attire,
Yeah.
right? A question I'll throw it at you. Do you feel or think that the way you dress can affect your mood? Like, do you find that you may actually dress the way you feel, or when you dress a certain way, you tend to feel a little bit more, ready or, upbeat, or you feel good? Do you feel like that's the case? Right? So when I shave my hair, I'm like, you know what? I'm ready for the day. I ain't shaved. Right? And this is something that I try to pass on to the students that we actually serve. So one of the reasons why I wear the stuff that I wear is so that students that come in my facility who experience individuals who dress like me to be negative, I try to combat that. Right? So they come into an environment, Mr. Sands is Mr. Sands. And it's really amazing because some of the students that used to come to my office all the time when I was the assistant director don't come as much anymore, all because of a title change. And so I'm having to navigate that. This is the same Mr. Sands, the water blazer in that office, and this office, and so therefore I have to put forth the effort about connecting with them and meeting where they are, so that they can see someone like me who may reflect some of them, a male in authority, who is not egotistical, who don't think to carry himself like he's better than anyone else, who may dress nice and handle them with respect and so forth. But I do find that you can tell a person by the way they walk. I've seen individuals, and this is men, not just women. A man will walk different in jeans and tennis shoes than in a suit and a tie. It's a different walk. There's a different a vibe you're giving off in that session. When someone comes into my office and they see the way the staff is dressed, there's a level of respect. I had a question asked to me, said, you're Dr. Brown, why do you wear a suit? And what they're trying to say is, we're the high school kids. Why do you dress up for that? And I have to explain to them, it's not about me. I would prefer to wear shorts and sandals. I'm from an island. A t-shirt that has maybe Hawaiian colors or Bahamian colors. Every day I let my beard go wild. Put a coconut tree in my office. That would be a preference for me. But there's something about when you consider the office and how you present yourself, regardless of the level of service that you're making. Now, I'm not saying go to the schools in your suit, but what makes you feel good about your presentation where a kid can walk in there and still see you as a figure of respect and say, hey, this man knows what he's talking about. Because the things that coming out of his mouth reflects his appearance and also reflects in the results that I'm getting from listening to what this gentleman is saying. Whenever you're doing legal services, when they see me coming down and some folks are like this too, where you give me no legal advice and no shorts. You wear shorts and you'll tell me how to do the law. And some people can be that way. But there are folks who are much more prudent and reasonable, that they know that you work with international students and that when I see you in your gear, I know you're working, right? If someone has to get down with those students and be able to be flexible and moving in and out, the students, and especially when it comes to, and I'm a former international student, and it can be demanding, right? Can you go to Walmart? Right? Could you mind doing heels, running through? I'm going to get a van, trying to go to Walmart and take them there, right? So it's relative. But here are some things that I have, and this is, and we're closing. There are some models that they have in research that you can look at, and what you deem is your part of your office culture, like business professional attire or business casual attire. I think that there should be another category for individuals who work with in high schools and who work with students on a day-to-day basis where it's more active, right? And so it appears to be some limitation in what it is that out there as the norm of what's the professional attire, okay? Because here you have a gentleman in a suit and a lady in a suit with suit pants, right? This is considered business professional. Polo shirt, belt, leather shoes, and some slacks. Then you have someone else in a solid color. So these are what society kind of shows us and shows us that, hey, this is when you're meeting these particular professional attire. But what fits for your office?
Business casual.
Business casual.
But that, to me, this is backwards. I see a lady in a skirt, and I feel like
Right.
she's more dressed up than a lady
Yeah.
And a suit with a tie, right? Because
and the low shoes would be, I mean, she looks like she has high heels on. High heels looks more dressy to me.
right.
And
I thought this was leggings at first, you know, like she don't know off the leggings,
Yeah, I know.
right? And a coat,
Well,
that's
Liz
smart.
had an interesting statement. She's dressed more like a man.
She's dressed more like a man, but they actually point to her pantyhose. That is crazy.
I know.
Who the heck wears pantyhose?
Nobody wears her pantyhose.
Yeah, like this is all this.
Yeah, under
Yeah.
the priest.
Yeah. We're not liking this.
What's crazy
I'm
is
hot
that
already. Already. Burn it up.
So you see how the paradigm, right, based on what we perceive as business casual and also business professional attire. You know, there are some individuals that say, okay, this is what it is now, but this is what it's actually supposed to be. You know, when it comes, but what and now we know Fridays is game day for us. On a Thursday, if I'm going to chapel, I'm putting on a blazer and a tie because I'm representing not just my office but our departments. You know, and the students that we serve. But on a regular day, I'm wearing a trio shirt, just trying to represent our offices in that way. And so these are the things to consider. Do what works for you. You know, if you know that by putting on this skirt or these slacks, a polo shirt or a blazer, kind of helps you to be perceived for who you are, what you're trying to be. You know, like dress for success is a model that's being thrown around, but studies have shown that it actually improves an individual's functioning in the office, whether it's the perception of who they are or their professionalism. It also allows the individual to receive them a certain way based on who you're meeting with. If you're meeting with Dr. Schubert, you don't want to go in shorts, right? And tall socks, orange socks, you know, and what is it? What was that in this song?
Tags?
Yeah.
You do wear your
Right? You know, but at the same time though, if you're meeting with a student, you want to make sure that like you're really considering, you know, your attire. You know, is this something that's inviting? Is this something that scares people away? And stuff like that. So in conclusion, when it comes to growth mindset, when it comes to professional development, you know, make a choice. And my hope is that you would choose the growth mindset option, so that as a group, as an office, that we're constantly moving towards the common goal, and that is to be of service to the students in our department, our area, right? Whatever that may look like. It's okay to say, hey, you know, my preferred method of communication is this. Do you mind sending me a text this way, or do you mind sending me an email? Because I check this all the time, all right? And some of us that do have cutoff. 10 o'clock is the cutoff for some, 9 o'clock is the cutoff for some. You know, let's find a common way. If you like face-to-face, find a way to communicate that, hey, I'll come down to your office or your face-to-face. You know, because the more that we're aware of each other in our communication, I think the better we can function as a group, where we can root out any possibility of misunderstandings there. When it comes to feedback is great, okay? Don't be afraid of feedback, okay? Ask someone to critique your work, critique what you're doing, to critique where you're going, so that you'll be able to be even a more effective leader. The study shows that, all right? So don't be afraid, don't back down from that. And as far as your attire, do what works for you in your office. Do your best to reflect who you want to be known as or seen as when you're interacting with other professionals and the students that we actually serve. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, let me know. There is an assessment on there. If you can just fill it out real quick for me. There's a piece to write some things down. And again, thank you for your time.